Hey, I'm Herald Sports writer Manny Navarro, joined once again by my comrade Andre C. Fernandez. We're here at Hallandale High School, home of the Chargers, who pulled off one of the biggest upsets in the state last week, knocking off two-time defending state champion American Heritage. And Dre, good news outside of the win. Looks like quarterback Tyler Huntley and his bum ankle are healthy.
Not a bum anymore.
No.
No, and even with a bum ankle, Tyler Huntley's pretty good, and he's still beating quality teams like American Heritage. Great comeback, major developments around the state. We saw some defending champs that are used to going to state every year fall. Bowles is gone, Apopka's gone, some new faces at state. This could be one of them if they keep it up. And now that Tyler Huntley's healthy, I wouldn't bet too much against them.
Well, you still do have some familiar faces, at least here in South Florida. The guys that won the games last week in rematches. Of course, Hallandale, one of them. They're one of the new faces. But what about Columbus? They go and take on a Coral Gables team in Class 8A and absolutely annihilate them, 35-0. Now they get South Dade, who won the state championship 2 years ago. Huge matchup. This is the game I guess you're going to be at Friday night down at Harris Field. Who wins and why?
Well, I mean, that's what I was saying about Columbus and Central last week. Playoff experience. I mean, that's something that I favor all the time whenever unless a team is clearly better than another one. In this case, they were pretty even. It came through again. They know how to win these games. They did it. Now they're going to face a much tougher obstacle. To go down to Harris Field is never easy. They've done it in the past, though, so I think experience will play a factor again in this game. I think the biggest key is Columbus's defense because they're going to face one of the best offensive lines in the state. Forget about Dade County only. And if they can come through, keep that score low, limit big plays, because we know Jawan Hamilton is busting off 80-yard runs, it seems like every week. I think if they can do that, Columbus comes out on top.
Well, I'm going to actually pick South Dade in this game. I picked against Columbus last week. I'm going to pick South Dade this week. This is the reason why.
You're going to have to skip the 8A game.
I better not visit the Marti household either. No, what I want to say is, look, I looked at South Dade last week. Their two playoff wins haven't been very impressive, but the one thing that I do like about their team, we went down there, we visited them a couple weeks ago. It seems like they're really united. Not that Columbus isn't, but I just feel like the home field advantage at Harris Field, having Columbus go down there, play an important game, and we know the huge drop-off from one quarterback to the next for Columbus. I think in this game you're going to see that South Dade defense play better than they have all year.
Well, honestly, that could come down to it because like I said, their offensive line has had a lot of praise this year and deservedly so. But if those defensive guys show up and shut down Columbus, then they can get past them. Maybe it's them and the winner of the next game we're going to talk about, Flanagan and Atlantic.
Yeah, well, I was going to tell you, the team that couldn't get past Columbus last year, even though they had them on their home turf, was the Flanagan Falcons. They ended up losing the state semifinals in disappointing fashion for them. And I know Coach Bush has those guys fired up, coming off a 17-0 win over Deerfield Beach last week. Now they get an undefeated Delray Atlantic team. Dre, I haven't done my homework on Delray Atlantic. I hope you have.
Yeah, a little bit, and they're pretty good, 12-0. Probably the best team in Palm Beach. They got solid wins this year. You beat teams like Dwyer. Good solid football team all the way around, could put some points on the board. But the brand of defense that Flanagan's playing right now, I can't go against them. I think the Falcons get it done, and then they're going to be Googling directions to either Traz or Harris Field next week.
Well, I got Flanagan winning this game, too. I picked Flanagan in the preseason to get to state, and I'm sticking with that pick right now. I think the Falcons are going to find a way to get the job done, even against a pretty good Delray Atlantic team. They're at home. That's going to make a difference. All right, let's go down to 7A, where another familiar face, St. Thomas Aquinas, comes off a 24-7 drubbing of Dwyer. Maybe the most important development of that game, Dre, the development of a running game. A real running game that can ground and pound you, and that's probably going to be most important here for St. Thomas moving forward.
Well, I mean, not just this game. I think St. Thomas has shown they've run the ball. I mean, Jackson Kincaid and those guys really stepped up. I mean, when they lost Henry Cole earlier in the season, he stepped in, and he's really carried the load for them. The bigger development for me was Jake Allen's back. Now they don't have to worry about, is our backup Bo Felicio ready to go for these huge games? He did an outstanding job to get this team past the point where Allen got hurt, but now you have a kid that was, the starter from the beginning of the season. It's a little more continuity on offense, and they get a familiar foe. They get Coach Rocco Casulo of Mater Academy. I know he's excited for it. This is a great opportunity, win or lose, for those Mater Academy Lions, because to go from where that program was 3 years ago to now a third-round playoff team going into that kind of a game against Aquinas, Coach said it himself. Those kids are going to learn from that regardless of what happens.
Yeah, they're going to get a plate full of humble pie the day after Thanksgiving. But you know what? I think in the end, you're right. This is a building block. We didn't expect Mater Academy. I mean, I picked them in the preseason to get to this game,
Yeah.
but I don't think we expected them to win this game. We still don't expect them to win this game. But that doesn't mean that a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, Rocco Casulo doesn't have this thing rolling like he did at Aquinas, where they're playing in big games like this every year and fighting at St. Thomas to get to state.
Right. It could happen. I mean, they're locked in for the next 4 years, so 3 more of these down the road if the Lions keep it going.
All right, Andre, so those are the first two classifications, 8A and 7A. What about Class 6A, where the Central Rockets, you talk about a team that's been here so many times. Now they're going to be going on the road to face Daytona Beach, Mainland, in a huge game after a huge win over Carroll City, 38-6 last week.
Well, I mean, a smart plan on offense, really, because they know that they weren't as explosive during the season on offense as they've been in years past. No Dalvin Cook, no Joe Yearby, even Anthony Jones last year. But they were smart. Gerard Thomas, they made him feel comfortable. They had a short passing game. They incorporated some of the running game. Big shout out to those offensive linemen at Central up front, dominating that football game. And Gerard Thomas himself, best game I've seen him play the whole time I've watched him play for 2 years now. Threw 3 touchdown passes, managed the game perfectly. He hit a 71-yarder right off the bat that was huge after Carroll City had gotten a safety. Then after Carroll City had taken the lead back at 8-7, he comes back, hits another 60-yarder. Jannard Phillips, Devontae's little brother, he's going to be good. Let me tell you, he's already good, but he's going to have a great career. It showed that the other night. And then, of course, Central's defense. Keir Thomas, Kenny Turner, Eric Mitchell, all those guys swarming to the quarterback, forcing Steve Calvert to rush his throws, and they just got it done. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a blowout, but I counted again on that Central experience to come through, and it did.
Yeah, I certainly didn't see that coming. I thought Carroll City would play a much better game and win. I actually picked them to win that game. Central, of course, proves me wrong. Congratulations to them. Who do you got this week, though? Because Mainland is a much tougher opponent. This is on the road. You were there for last year's game. What do you remember about that, and what's going to be the key this time?
Well, it's a big, you get that big playoff atmosphere there. It's a stadium similar to Traz, a little bigger, I think, than Traz Powell, the municipal stadium up there, and it's going to be crazy because last year those guys, took it to Central for a couple of quarters, and then Central just pulled away, again, with the big playmakers. They're going to have to win this game differently. They're going to have to win it like they did against Carroll City. Play a smart game plan. Don't turn the ball over. I think they can do it more than I thought maybe a couple of weeks ago when I was a little concerned for them. Mainland also, they've been in dogfights so far in the playoffs. They almost lost to Palm Bay Heritage. I got to give the Rockets the nod. I think experience comes through.
Yeah, I'm picking the Rockets as well. All right, Jerry, let's talk about the 5A game here. Hallandale going on the road up to Orlando, take on Bishop Moore. Let's talk about that matchup because last year Heritage had a tough time with Bishop Moore. I know they have a huge offensive line, 2 guys that are going to D1 schools, and one going to Notre Dame, I think another to Yale. And then, of course, the big playmaker for them is Ray Lewis's son.
Yeah, Ray Lewis's son has had a tremendous year. I mean, the Bishop Moore team, they remind me a little bit of Heritage. They're that type of team, well-coached, solid team up front. I mean, Coach Jones even told you that's probably the best offensive line they may face throughout as long as they go. But when I walked in here and I heard Tyler Huntley, his ankle's okay, and he's back to being full 100% Tyler Huntley.
Yeah,
I made my pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pick Hallandale as well. I just think, you look at this team and what they've already gotten through, getting through Heritage, who's a 2-time state champion. And then you look at the defensive side. Last week they forced 4 turnovers. That was huge. If they can play defense that way, I know the defense isn't as good as last year's, and Coach Jones will be the first to admit it to you. We lost a lot of guys on that side of the football, he says. But now they're forcing turnovers. They play that way, I think they win this game.
It has to happen again. They got to get some turnovers up there, especially on the road early.
All right, and last but not least, the Booker T. Washington Tornadoes. Talk about another team that's just continues to get to this point. They go on the road last week, knock off Glade Central. At Glade Central, only the second Dade County team to do that, win there after Duke Johnson and Norland did it a few years ago. And now you look at the situation this week. They get a Cocoa team that they've beaten 3 years in a row in the state semifinals, a rematch again. What's going to happen this time?
Well, I think it's going to be a closer game than people expect. I think early in the year, the way Booker T was struggling, people thought they're going to get rolled over. People honestly thought they weren't even going to get to this game, to be honest. And, last week against Glade Central, I thought playoff experience would come through on the road. I thought it wouldn't be easy, and it wasn't, but they'd get through and force this game again. Now I'm thinking the way Daniel Richardson's playing, I've been talking about him all year, the freshman. I love this kid. He's great. Threw a bunch of touchdown passes again last week. He's going to have to keep them in this game. But more than anything, the Booker T defense has to keep them in this game. The familiarity factor is what scares me because this Cocoa team, like you said, they've seen this Booker T squad time and again. I know it's a lot of new faces, but pretty much the same things they run, and they're going to be ready. It's a road game. It's down here for them, but I think Coco's going to be a very tall obstacle for Booker T to overcome.
I'm with you. I think Coco wins this year's game just because Booker T is so young. They've already got 5 losses this year. I know they've learned a lot from those losses, but this is one that is going to serve as a motivating factor for Coach Earl Tillman next year. So we're picking Coco. We agree there. We're both picking Hallandale on the road to upset Orlando Bishop Moore. Then you go to 6A. We're both picking Central. Go to 7A. We're both picking Aquinas. I don't even think we had to make an announcement. And then last but not least, the 8A game, we're picking Flanagan over Atlantic.
Which one we disagreed on.
Yeah, I know which one. I just wanted to make that clear. All right, for Andre Fernandez, I'm Manny Navarro. We'll see you guys next week.